In this video of my sessions on Financial Accounting 101, we are going to go through the process of recording transactions which is followed in financial accounting. So as you can see over here, I have listed down 12 different steps that are followed in financial accounting so as to record a transaction and present it in a way so that we can understand what we have done in the last year or that time period. So there are 12 steps. So step number 1 that that we have noted over here is the first step in financial accounting that you can see is identify whether the thing that has happened is an event or a transaction. Now, this is very, very critical because you should understand that in accounting, only transactions will be recorded and events will be ignored. So the most critical part is to understand what is transaction, what is an event. Transactions, they are exchange of asset, goods, and or services with consideration of money value, while events is anything in general purpose which occurs at a specific time and particular place. All transactions are events, but all events are not transactions. ये ध्यान में रखना है. This is because in order for the events to be called transactions, the event must involve exchange of values in terms of money. All events where there is exchange of money or money's worth are known as transactions, which are recorded in the books of accounts. Like suppose in case of a pharma company, they hire a brilliant pharmacist in this R&D department, and that pharmacist, suppose it has, he has say 85 patents in his name. This will surely impact the future of the company, and in case the company is listed, the share price of the company may also rise. However, in accounting, only salary paid to him will be recorded as an expense and nothing more. So this is very critical to understand that. First and the foremost thing that you have to do is what? Is to understand whether what has happened is an event or a transaction. Now, the next step in financial accounting we follow is known as identifying what all accounts are impacted in the transaction that has happened. So, what do you mean by this? An account is defined as a summarized record of a transaction related to a person or a thing. Example, when the business deals with customers and suppliers, each of the customer and supplier will have a separate account. Account क्या होता है? It will tell you, or it will give you a summarized record of what has happened with that person, asset, or whatever things it is or whatever the account is meant for. You must know that each of us is identified as separate account by the bank, correct? When you open an account with them, so every account will have a different account number. The account is also related to things both tangible and intangible. So you can also have account giving you summary of things like land and building, equipment, brand value, trademark, etc. So you come to know kitna land liya, kitna becha. All these things will be there as a summarized thing known as ledger account or account. When business transaction happens, one has to identify the account that will be affected by it and then apply the rules to reset the account treatment. So over here, I have given you an example of something known as a cash account. You can very well see over here there are two sides. One is known as over here DR जो यहाँ पे लिखा है, and we have CR that is known as credit side. So account has two sides, debit and the credit. Okay. Then I have said that the columns are particulars and amount. In debit there are two columns. In credit also there same columns are there, particulars and amount. So you can see over here that on the debit side of it, it is written that cash bought into business. मतलब पैसा धंधे में आया 1 लाख रुपया. Then goods, then received for goods sold. मतलब जब हमने माल बेचा था उसके लिए you got 25,000 rupees more. On the credit side of it, you can see that paid for goods purchased. मतलब हमने पैसा दिया कितना rupees 50,000. We paid for rent. So cash, rent भी हमने cash से पे किया 15,000 रुपया उसके लिए दिया. So now if you see, उसके नीचे आ रहा है balance at the end. ये क्या हुआ? So ये पैसा आया कितना 1,25,000. उसमें से हमने खर्चा कितना किया 50 minus 50. So what you get is only 60,000 rupees. That is the balance at the end. So you can see over here that once you see a cash account, you come to exactly know कि भाई cash में क्या movement हुआ था, कितना पैसा कहाँ से आया, कितना पैसा कहाँ गया. So this is known as account which gives you a summarized thing of what has happened in that type of an account. Okay. The next step that we find over here is to classify the impacted accounts into personal, real and nominal accounts. This is very, very critical. एक transaction में जो account impact होंगे, उसको find करने के बाद आपको उसको you have to classify in 3 parts: personal, real and nominal accounts. So over here you can see that the class in classical accounting, the accounts are classified, as I told you, in three parts: personal accounts, real accounts, and nominal accounts. The accounts that contain transactions related to individuals or other organizations with whom your business has direct transactions are known as personal accounts. These personal accounts include natural person, artificial person, or representative person. You know, so personal account भी तीन type के हो सकते हैं. It can be a natural person. Now, what is natural person? These accounts relate to the natural persons like say Veer's account, Ajay's account, Kiran's account, और जो जिंदा आदमियों के account जो होते हैं उसको बोलते हैं natural person account. Okay? Then we can also have artificial personal accounts. These accounts relate to companies and institutions like say Kanti Private Limited, Bookers Club, etc. Okay, so ये वो सारे accounts हो गए जो जिंदा नहीं है, मतलब they are not living creatures, but they are entities that the law says कि ये अलग आदमी है या अलग person है. So thus companies and institutions are the entities that exist in the eyes of law. So all these things are known as artificial personal accounts. Or the last category is what known as the representative personal accounts. Accounts that are representative of some group of persons are called as representative personal accounts. This includes outstanding interest, outstanding wages. मतलब what is outstanding wages? Wages payable. मतलब से 25 जन को पैसा भरना देना बाकी है. So क्लबिंग हम क्या करेंगे? 25 जन का एक नाम क्या देंगे हम? Wages payable. ये कहाँ पे आ जाएगा? Wages payable account. So what is wages payable? It is a account which is representing all those people to whom the wages are still payable. Okay. So personal accounts will be of three types. The individual or the natural personal accounts. Then we have artificial personal accounts, and the last is the representative personal accounts. The next thing that you have to identify is that they can also be real accounts. Now, what are real accounts? They are the accounts that are related with properties, assets, or possessions. These properties can both be physically existing as well as non-physical in nature. These real accounts are of two types: tangible real account and intangible real accounts. What is tangible real account? Tangible real accounts are accounts which have physical existence. In other words, such assets can be seen, felt or touched. For example, machinery हो गया, vehicle हो गया, building हो गया, anything जो आप touch कर सकते हो, feel कर सकते हो, वो क्या हो गया? Tangible real account. There can also be intangible real accounts. Now, what are these? These are the assets or possessions that do not have physical existence but can be measured in terms of money. This means that such assets have some value attached to them, but you cannot touch and feel them. Example क्या हो सकता है? It can be trademarks, patents, copyrights, goodwill, ये कुछ भी. वो assets जो हैं जिसका value for money है, but आप उसको touch feel नहीं कर सकते, उसको क्या बोलते हैं? You call it intangible real accounts. Okay. Then we also have something known as nominal accounts. What are nominal accounts? They are related to either income or expense or losses or gains. So this accounts, you can, what can be examples like wage account, salary account, rent account, interest received account, interest paid account. All these things will come where? Will come in the nominal accounts. So once you have identified the accounts, then you're going to classify into real, personal, and nominal accounts. And after this, you are going to do what? You are going to apply the rules of these accounts. So the next step into classification of accounts is to what? Is to use the following rules. So suppose that you find out कि भाई ये जो account है वो personal account है. So what is the rule you are going to use for personal account? We'll say that debit the receiver or who owes to the business and credit the giver or to whom business owes. So normally what is the what to say in normal balance, what do you call it? अगर personal account है rule क्या लगाओगे? Debit the receiver of benefit and credit the giver of benefit. Suppose the account that you have identified in a transaction is a real account, मतलब वो asset है, कोई भी मतलब either tangible intangible. So उसके लिए rule क्या लगाओगे? The rule will be debit what comes in, credit what goes out. मतलब जब आप asset business में आता है, debit किया जाता है. Asset जब business से बाहर मतलब बेच दिया हम, तो you call it credit. Okay. So real accounts में rule क्या होगा? Debit what comes in, credit what goes out. And if you have identified a nominal account, मतलब कौन सा? एक्सपेंसेस और इनकम वाला, तो उसमें रूल क्या लगेगा? ऑल एक्सपेंसेस वुड बी डेबिटेड एंड ऑल इनकम्स एंड गेन्स वुड बी क्रेडिटेड. सो इफ इट्स एन एक्सपेंस और अ लॉस, वो डेबिट होगा. इफ इट्स एन इनकम और अ गेन, तो क्या होगा? क्रेडिट होगा. ओके. So this is what you call this the three golden rules of accounting. मतलब करना क्या है? फर्स्ट स्टेप इज व्हाट? फाइंड आउट कि ट्रांजैक्शन है या इवेंट है. सेकंड स्टेप क्या होता है कि अगर वो इवेंट है तो उसको भूल जाओ, मतलब अकाउंटिंग के लिए भूल जाओगे. इट कैन बी रियली वेरी क्रिटिकल फॉर द बिजनेस पर्सन. Events are critical, sometimes more than transactions. But as I said, accounts will only record transactions. So second step is to record the transaction. Then you say classify or say identify कि उस transaction में कौन सा account impact हुआ है. But don't worry. In the next session, probably I will take a simple example on this whole process. Okay. So once you identified the transaction, identified the accounts impacted, then you classify them as personal, real, and nominal accounts. Once you have classified them as personal, real, and nominal accounts, क्या करना है फिर? You have to apply the rules of personal, real, and nominal accounts. It is known as the 3 golden rules of financial accounting. Okay. After this, then then there are 4 what to say, from 4 to 12 there are steps which we'll see as we go ahead. After doing this, then the next step is to journalize the transaction. Now, then the step would be to post to ledger. Then you will balance the ledgers. Then you will prepare the list of ledger balances and ensure that it tallies. Then you have to rectify the errors if there are any. मतलब अगर suppose आपका tally, that ledger balances don't tally, मतलब debit doesn't equal to credit, तो क्या करना पड़ेगा to find out कि कहीं पे गलती हुआ है क्या. If you have errors, you have to pass the adjustment entries. Once those are passed, then you make a trial balance. मतलब वो ऐसा balance होगा जहाँ पे total of balances of debit will be total of balances of credit. Now, don't worry, you will see all this thing as we go ahead. क्या होता है, कैसे होता है. Right now, you just listen what I'm saying over here. After you have prepared the trial balance, then you prepare the profit and loss account and the balance sheet. And once both this critical financial statements are prepared, the last statement that you prepare is the cash flow statement. Okay. यहाँ पे you can see that I have given one more box. यहाँ पे मैंने लिखा है books of prime entry transaction type. So क्या होता है? What is books of prime entry? They are those books जहाँ पे you record the transaction for the first time. Okay. So when you do एक book बोला जाता है sales day book. So any credit sale that happens has to be recorded in the sales day book. Then we have the purchase day book. So any credit purchase that is being done, वो कहाँ पे आएगा? In the purchase day book. Then we have the sales return book. The return of the goods sold on credit is being shown in the sales return book. Then purchase return book में क्या दिखता है? Return of goods purchased on credit. Then you have the cash book जहाँ पे all cash and bank transactions are take place. जहाँ पे cash का भी मतलब cash means hard cash as well as the bank movement. कहाँ पे track होता है? Cash book, cash bank book में tally होता है, record होता है. The sixth is the petty cash book. Now what is petty cash book? They are the small cash expenses मतलब चाय पानी का खर्चा हो गया या small stationery that you bought in petty cash, छोटे amount. All the small cash transactions will be routed to the petty cash book. And the last is a journal. मतलब अगर ये आपके ट्रांजेक्शन में पहले 6 में से कोई भी नहीं, कुछ अलग ही ट्रांजेक्शन है, तो कहाँ पे रिकॉर्ड होगा? जर्नल में रिकॉर्ड होगा. और जैसे कि यू हैव सोल्ड गुड्स ऑन कैश, तो कहाँ आ जाएगा? कैश बुक में भी आएगा और जर्नल में भी आ जाएगा. So there'll be entries that will be saying यहाँ पे it'll be anything that is not first 6 will go somewhere in the journal. This is how the process of financial accounting happens. In the session to come, we are going to learn the same process by taking certain examples. For now, that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much.